Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being a viewer. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. Thank you for joining me on this historic day in the history of the United States of America. If you don't know anything about me, check out my video right here. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. This channel, the Ignition Time channel, is about the country, the economy, and about your money. We cover topics that are important to the country, that impact the economy, that by extension affect your money. One of the things that's going to affect all of us in the near term is control of the United States Senate and what policies get pushed through Congress, meaning the House and the Senate, and signed into law by the President of the United States. It is clear now that we have a Democrat House, again with a narrow majority. We have a Democrat Senate, just barely squeaked through with the majority, with the vote of Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, and we have a Democratic president who is about to be certified despite the shenanigans, despite the theater, despite the spectacle that we are about to witness in the next 24 to 48 hours. The important thing here is understanding where we are as a country and how we can move forward together, united, because we are best when we are united. I believe that Republicans have excellent ideas, Democrats have excellent ideas, and when they work together, the country moves forward. I believe that trying to ram through a Republican agenda or a Democratic agenda is not the right thing. And I believe the country basically keeps swinging back and forth. If you look at the history of presidents in the past, we had President Bill Clinton, then we had then after that we had President George Bush, then after that we had President Barack Obama, then we had President Donald Trump, and now we have President Biden. So the country swings between Republicans and Democrats. That is basically how things happen if you look at the arc of history. Because we might look at things in the here and now, but ultimately this is about the long arc of history. On a lighter note, let's examine the reason why Reverend Raphael Warnock won in the state of Georgia. According to Ian Bremmer, and Ian is a political scientist and he's an author, Reverend Raphael Warnock, who is now Senator-elect Warnock, won because of his dog. Let's take a look at this video and I'm pretty sure it's going to bring a smile to your face. Let's roll the tape.
Sick of the negative ads? Tired of the mail? Ready for the calls to stop? Me too, but there's still some work to do. What started out as a campaign has turned into a movement with supporters of all kinds joining together. In the Senate, I'll follow your lead, working with others to always put Georgia first. I'm Raphael Warnock, and whether you walk, run, or get pulled to the polls, I ask for your vote. That's why I approve this message.
Now let's shift gears into something a little bit more serious. Here's a tweet on your screen from the President of the United States saying states want to correct their votes. Vice President Mike Pence has to step up. And Jake Sherman from Punchbowl News replies and says, false. Does not work like this. Shifting gears back to Reverend Raphael Warnock, he said some pretty interesting things. One of the things he says was, and you'll see the quote on your screen, I have no intentions of becoming a politician. I intend to be a public servant. That is what he said. In fact, let's roll this brief clip and see what he had to say in his own words. Let's watch.
I mean, what happened last night is stunning. We flipped a state, and it took a lot of hands to do that. It's the result of giving people their voice, quite frankly. Over the last 10 years, I've worked with many others to register hundreds of thousands of new voters in this state. Those voters, alongside others, stood up last night, and they sent a clear message to Washington that this is the people's democracy. You don't own it. If you have power, it's because we've extended it to you for a period of time. It is a kind of stewardship. It is a sacred trust. And it's one that I take very seriously, and I hope to honor that promise in the work that we will do in the days ahead.
I understand you have some interesting Sunday plans for the foreseeable future, even though you will be a U.S. Senator. What are they?
Oh, I intend to return to my pulpit and preach on Sunday mornings and to talk to the people. Listen, one of the things that I've learned from being a pastor is that it's really the people who teach you how to be a good pastor, an effective pastor. And I think it's the people who teach you how to be an effective senator. And so the last thing I want to do is become disconnected from the community and just spend all of my time talking to the politicians. I might accidentally become one. And I have no intentions of becoming a politician. I intend to be a public
It
servant.
might be too late for that a little bit, at least technically, right? You are the senator-elect from the state of Georgia, so by definition, as of this moment, you are a politician.
And what's interesting is I mentioned the arc of history earlier, and Reverend Raphael Warnock said something similar. Here's another quote on your screen, a tweet, if you will, that quotes Reverend Raphael Warnock, which says, where the Reverend says, "When I think about the arc of our history, what Georgia did last night as its own message in the midst of a moment in which so many people are trying to divide our country." This incredible quote, actually, from Reverend Raphael Warnock. Let's actually look at the clip and hear what he had to say.
We heard you overnight noting the fact that your 82-year-old mother, whose hands picked someone else's cotton, you said, got to cast her vote for her son to be senator from the state of Georgia. What was that moment like when the state was called for you?
Good morning. Listen, this is a wonderful day here in Georgia, and I believe in America. I am an iteration and an example of the American dream. I spoke to my mom last night, and when I think about the arc of our history, what Georgia did last night is its own message in the midst of a moment in which so many people are trying to divide our country. At a time we can least afford to be divided. We've got big problems. And I'm deeply honored that the people of Georgia have placed their trust in someone who grew up in public housing, one of 12 children. I'm number 11, the first college graduate in my family. And I hope to bring the concerns of ordinary people to the United States Senate.
And now let's actually look at some reactions to Reverend Raphael Warnock on Fox News. And here's a tweet on your screen where Andrew Feinberg, who's a reporter that covers the Hill, who, by the way, has been calling out President Trump for some of the stuff President Trump has been tweeting. Andrew Feinberg says, "Steve Doocy can't stop himself from cringing when Kilmeade, one of the other anchors, starts attacking Reverend Raphael Warnock like it's not the day after Election Day." Pretty incredible. This happened this morning. Let's take a look at this segment and let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's watch.
A lot of people out there in Georgia.
Yeah.
I think Republicans have ownership of this as well.
And a lot of people in Georgia are upset that they wish that the governor had appointed Collins for that position because he has so much experience and his name recognition alone. But if you watch the debate, Warnock debate, I mean, he's an orator. He's a minister. He does this for a living. And
great communicator.
Yes, and in the South, when you are a big-time pastor of a church, you are so well respected. So I'm sure that had something to do with it too.
Right. A church that invited Fidel Castro to speak.
Listen,
who Reverend Wright mentored, who said, "Goddamn America." So congratulations to Reverend Warnock, but I am just confused about how he represents the people of Georgia.
It's a historic, popular church, Brian.
Thank you very much,
You
Will.
won. Thanks, Will.
I did read one bit of analysis regarding what you were talking about, Brian. I believe in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution this morning, and they say that one of the things that really motivated people to get out and vote for Reverend Warnock was the fact that Republicans were going after things he had said in his sermons. And people of faith did not like that, and they turned out in big numbers for him.
Yeah, I didn't like what he said in his sermon, so there you go.
Well, I think people who really study the Bible, they knew what he meant by that you can't serve two gods. Maybe he shouldn't have said military, and that might have made veterans upset and many people upset. But I think if you're a churchgoer, you knew what he meant by that, which was you can't serve two masters, as the Bible says.
Right. But I just do find it interesting that the
Jeff Stein from the Washington Post is now starting to report that stimulus becomes a much higher possibility right now. On your screen, you'll see a tweet from Jeff Stein from the Washington Post who says he's already hearing from various Democrats who want, at a minimum, to add additional weeks to federal unemployment benefits. In other words, right now, the federal unemployment benefits have been extended until the 14th of March. Democrats want to add additional weeks to that, and they can do it quickly, they can do it efficiently, and they can do it with little to no resistance because we no longer have Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Now, I'm going to refer to Mitch McConnell as Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. Okay, so there he is. Hello, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. He is now the Senate Minority Leader. So again, back to the tweet on your screen from Jeff Stein. The Democrats want to, at a minimum, to add additional weeks to federal unemployment benefits so they don't expire in March as they would under the current law that was so dramatically signed by the president less than 2 weeks ago after a delay which had everybody on the edge. Speaking of the economy and how we can recover and what's likely to happen in 2021, here's a clip on your screen from CNBC's Steve Leisman, who looked at economic projections for 2021, including a boost. Things are starting to look good. Things are starting to turn. Let's listen to the CNBC anchor, pretty incredible economist, Steve Leisman, and hear what he had to say. Let's watch.
Our first look of the year at the CNBC Rapid Update for Growth shows both the recent stimulus and the vaccine announcements boosting estimates for the spring. But even you can see here for the first quarter, some very interesting estimates here. Let's start off. The fourth quarter coming in very strong, near 4%, 4.8% right now, near 5%. This first quarter, though, is interesting because that's where the effects of the recent surge of the virus were going to be felt. And I think at 2.7, 2.8, it's a pretty good win right there. I believe it to be really flattered by the coming stimulus here. Then you move on to the second quarter and the third quarter, and you can see relative to the November forecast, 1.2% higher for the second quarter, half a point for the third quarter. I believe that's entirely the the vaccine taking effect right there. And then our first look at the fourth quarter, pretty strong, 4.4%. We'll look at the year in just a second. I want to show you that JP Morgan, though, has been watching the consumer, and they say, like we saw early on in the pandemic, consumer spending appears to be ground zero for the effects of the recent surge in the new COVID-19 cases. We ended the year weak, and we're continuing weak on consumer spending. That's why you get that dip in the fourth quarter. Okay, now let's look at the full year, minus 3.1 for 2020. And then here's the full year for 2021, 4.2%, almost double what potential growth is estimated to be. So again, given the circumstances, I'd call that a pretty big win for the U.S. economy. The challenges ahead include getting the vaccine distributed and regaining consumer confidence to return to the activities they currently are avoiding. The rule in 2020 is the same in 2021. COVID policy is economic policy. And Andrew, I'm pretty sure it wasn't planned that Dr. Gottlieb's going to follow me, but that's how you got to follow economic forecasts, is ask the doctors what's going to happen.
And on your screen, you'll see a series of tweets from Jake Sherman over at Politico, who started a new publication called Punchbowl News. And what Jake Sherman says is this: another COVID rescue bill is now looking more and more likely. He said this will be a Democratic priority in the first quarter of this year. But a COVID relief bill will have to be a negotiated settlement, according to Jake Sherman, between the four corners, meaning the four powerful individuals in Congress. The House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the projected to be Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, and the House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. So this is what is actually projected. And other priorities could include a tax bill, a healthcare bill. One would have to guess, according to Jake Sherman, that some large-scale tax increases probably to large companies, to rich individuals, as well as some way to make sure that Obamacare is modified, is improved, not changed, but modified and improved, maybe have a private component to it, maybe have a public component to it. We'll have to see what the Biden administration comes up with. That's going to be a huge priority. And a lot of it is going to have to do with the way they start to work together in the coming weeks. And here's something that Jake Sherman says: if they are smart infrastructure, if Biden can learn anything from Trump, it's this: should start off by pushing a legislative priority that's very, very popular. Infrastructure is. Trump tackled healthcare first and came to regret it, because Trump was not able to essentially throw out Obamacare because of resistance, because of that one thumbs down from the late great Senator John McCain, among other factors. So Jake Sherman writes, Trump tackled healthcare first and came to regret it. Infrastructure is not nearly as easy as the talkers would like you to believe. However, there are questions about funding and details on how to spend money. And Kevin McCarthy is probably feeling pretty good as far as Jake Sherman is concerned, because Jake Sherman points out that when one party controls all the power components in Washington, meaning the House and the Senate, the opposition usually ends up winning the House, because the country and the voters naturally and natively want to create some sort of balance, thanks to their infinite wisdom. In the meantime, here's a tweet on your screen from Liz Cheney, Congresswoman from Wyoming. She wrote, "We have sworn an oath under God to defend our Constitution. We uphold the oath at all times, not only when it is politically convenient." She also wrote, Congress has no authority to overturn elections by objecting to electors, which, by the way, is the opposite of what President Trump is saying. Doing so steals power from the states and violates the Constitution. To which Andrew Feinberg, reporter from The Hill, responds, Liz Cheney standing and thwarting Electoral College challenges, basically yelling, you folks don't know what you're talking about. On your screen, you'll see a tweet from Anna Marimo, who's a Washington Post reporter, and she writes, Mike Pence cannot legally overturn the election for Trump when he presides over today's joint session of Congress. And the response from CNN congressional correspondent Phil Mattingly is also on your screen. He basically reinforces what Ann is saying, and he says, should just retweet this 50 times today. Despite what some in the Oval Office may say, that is referring to President Trump, or what some in the chamber will attempt to yell out later today during the proceedings, this is the reality. And there's no legal way to get around it. And there is going to be a spectacle, there's going to be theater, there's going to be chaos today in Congress, and it is going to be done to rally voters, and it's going to be done primarily to essentially force fundraising. Jake Sherman from Punchbowl News also replied to this and said, correct, you may be taken on a magical mystery tour, but it will be nonsense. So what Jake Sherman is saying, there will be mystery, there'll be a magical mystery tour. We'll be in La La Land when it comes to the challenging of the Electoral College vote count. I have done another video where I talked about the Electoral Count Act, and when I talked about the 12th Amendment of the United States, which basically means that the Vice President has to follow the letter of the law. And I can tell you that when the Vice President does that today, I can tell you that he's going to be instantly unpopular as far as the President is concerned, which is going to be sad because Vice President Mike Pence has been a very loyal supporter of the president and his policies, and the rift between them, the very final stages of the Trump presidency, is going to be an unfortunate thing for Vice President Mike Pence. But Vice President Mike Pence is required by the Electoral Count Act and by the 12th Amendment of the United States to simply follow the letter of the law and declare President-elect Biden to be the next president of the United States. And we are expected to see the formal inauguration of President Joe Biden. That's where things stand, everybody. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. You'll get a link to all of our resources in the description section below. That's it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. If you don't know anything about me, please check out my video right here. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. On this channel, the Ignition Time channel, it's not important whether you're red or blue. For me, it's not about the red or the blue, it's about the red, white, and blue. I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican, I'm American. We are all Americans first. You'll get different types of information on this channel. You're not going to get the regular kinds of information. You're going to get information that's important to the country, because we do need to understand how the country works. That in turn impacts the economy, and by extension, this impacts our money. On this channel, you'll hear about the country, the economy, and about our money. We release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. That's 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. Please get your cell phone out, send a text message with the word ignition or with the word time, and send that to 70,000. That's 70000. You'll get added to our SMS alerts list moving forward. You can also get added to our email list. Simply go to ignitiontime.com/alerts. That's ignitiontime.com/alerts, and you'll get added to our email list going forward. You can opt out of the SMS list or the email list at any point in time that you want. Stay in touch with us via the SMS list or the email list. You'll get important news and alerts if you're on our SMS list and on our email list. So definitely make sure you stay in touch via SMS or via email. You'll also get information about any programs that we might release in the future. Now, keep in mind that YouTube does not always send out notifications on time. Sometimes YouTube sends out the notifications late. So all I ask you to do is simply go to youtube.com/ignition time. That's youtube.com/ignition time. And then you'll be able to bookmark the homepage of our channel and then visit the homepage of our channel and watch the videos anytime you want. This way you're not dependent on notifications and you're not going to miss a single video, which is important. You can also follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is ignition_time. That's ignition_time. So please follow us on Instagram. You'll get important information specifically for our Instagram community. Speaking of community, follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is also ignition_time. That's ignition_time. It's the same handle as Instagram. You'll get breaking news and alerts from us on Twitter. One of the incredible things about the growth of our channel has been the growth of our community. I encourage you to comment below. You'll make some new friends. We are a bipartisan, we are an intelligent, we are a respectful, we are a growing community. So engage with our community. You might make some new friends. Also, please share this video with just 2 friends or family members. Just share this video with 2 friends or family members. That would mean a lot to me personally. As always, you'll get a link to all of our resources in the description section below. So make sure you check out our description section. And finally, please ignite the subscribe button. Please ignite the like button. I would really appreciate that because the name of our channel is Ignition Time. Don't forget to enable notifications so that YouTube does send you reminders when we release content. I'll do anything for a like. If you want, I'll do one of my dances. Now, I guess I'm an average dancer, but seriously, I would really appreciate it if you click the like button. Once again, please subscribe. Please enable notifications. That would mean a lot to me. If you click like, I get into party mode. And it's almost like there's confetti for me everywhere when you click the like button. I would really appreciate that. Guys, let me be completely honest. Just because some of us have started to get the $600 stimulus checks, it does not mean that it's raining money. What it means is it's a lesson essentially for us that we should never, ever be dependent on the government again. And that is where I will lead you. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Thanks. Bye.